Hi, Erik Linask here with TMC. We're here at Cloud Expo in New York, and I'm talking with Erik Karpilovski from Mellanox Technologies this morning. Eli, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. We're here talking about cloud. What are you seeing in terms of what are people looking for? What are they coming to you for regarding their cloud?
Excellent question. So Mellanox is an interconnect vendor for storage and server. We provide the highest, fastest interconnect today, starting from our adapter cards, 40 gig Ethernet, 56 gigabit per second InfiniBand, same for the switch. Customers are really interested now in looking at new trends such as SDN, OpenStack, and the Open Compute project. So those are three main projects that we were heavily involved. We contributed a lot to the communities, and we're here today to actually show some of the achievements and some of the revolutionary features and capabilities that we're introducing for the first time here in this show.
So certainly you mentioned SDN, and there's been a lot of attention around SDN, a lot of focus on it. Where does interest, where does adoption stand today?
Well, it's early stage, days, but what we see is the way we see it in Mellanox is there's really two approaches, and in a way that the environment is just moving into, or the ecosystem is now moving to SDN, which is open source. A lot of application running on top of SDN controllers, and the traditional way of handling SDN, data plan flows is using a switch. So Mellanox, as well as pretty much everyone else in the industry, is supporting OpenFlow on our switch, but because we're an end-to-end solution, we can actually provide a very interesting and very unique angle to this with our adapter card. So the way we're looking at this, there's a lot of limitations in the SDN implementation today that preventing people, specifically cloud providers, infrastructure as a service provider, to scale out. Most of it because SDN is really touching every specific switch along the route. And what we're bringing here today, and we're showing in this demonstration today, is basically the idea of taking some of the offload from the switch to the server side and run it on our adapter. So we're actually showing for the first time a adapter that is integrated with an OpenFlow agent on top of it. So with an end-to-end infrastructure cloud installation, you could take some of the workload from the switch to the adapter side.
Is this something that's going to be adopted piecemeal, or it's going to be an all-in-one replacement?
Well, I think it's going to be piece by piece. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of traditional network out there. The challenge with the traditional network is that it's a vendor specific, it's a hardware lock. There's no really an ecosystem around that to kind of make sure that the industry or the requirement is following what the industry has to offer. But that said, people still need to work with what they used to work until now, and slowly adopt and add some capabilities that make sense to use SDN for. So it's going to be in a hybrid mode where people will use the old-fashioned way with SDN into new ways of doing things, and we're here in Mellanox, we support both, so we're kind of excited about this new aid.
How do businesses go about integrating their traditional network infrastructure with what they're doing with SDN?
Great question. So, because SDN is relatively new and there's a lot of challenges to overcome, the integration will take some time. There will be some pockets, some areas within the infrastructure that will still continue to use traditional ways of doing things, which is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more, I will say, manually done. But there are other areas where it makes a lot of sense for cloud providers, for telco guys to kind of adopt a SDN approach. And specifically, when you're talking about how you do layer 2 virtualization, how you do overlay network, how you support the multi-tenant environment. And I think with respect to that, this is where the most interesting part is coming in with SDN, and this is one of the videos that we've done here, is to kind of show the integration that we've done on this specific topic of how you take an off-the-shelf switch and kind of a cloud infrastructure, and you include an SDN controller done by SDN controller is big switch controller, and Radware threat application.
What's the relationship between SDN and the other technology that we're now talking about, NFV?
Well, I think it's a very tight relationship. Obviously, I will say the telco guys are kind of a little bit late to the game, I will say. And with respect to that, SDN is kind of a way for them to accelerate adoption of becoming a relative and more influential on the cloud market. So I think there's a tight integration between them.
Eli, thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Erik Linask with TMC. Check out all of our Cloud Expo coverage in the TMC Video Newsroom.